Hi, all. Good morning. Hope you all are doing good. So, in this video, we'll be doing a recap of whatever we have done so far, right? So, if you remember, we have done one Azure portal, Azure account where we have tried to explore. We have created few services like Azure ADLS Gen2. We have explored all this, like we have explored the blob storage, we have explored the ADLS storage, and since ADLS storage is going to be used for data engineering purpose, we are going to explore that ADLS Gen2 moving forward. And we have seen that how we can create in all those, right? We have explored those as well. And if you remember in the last class, we have done one uh, Azure Databricks account. There we have seen how we have created this Databricks cluster. We have created one compute. We have attached that compute to that cluster, and we have created few notebooks and seen whether this Databricks cluster that we have created was functioning correctly or not. And we have tested few languages like R, Scala, Python, and SQL. All that is being tested with the workspace. So now that we are all ready with the environment setup and the cluster setup is ready, we are trying to explore, okay, how we can integrate the ADLS with our Databricks cluster, right? So what we'll be covering on this session is like we'll be integrating this ADLS with Databricks. That will be our first focus. Then we'll be uh, reading and doing some transformation and writing the data to ADLS. So we'll be doing some basic functionality over this integration. So we'll be exploring that. So what we'll be going, let's see step by step. So we'll be creating an Azure account. I mean, Azure account is already there. Storage is also there. So we will be just creating a container over that storage. We'll try to integrate storage with Databricks, verify the connections that we have set. We'll read the data from ADLS using DataFrame Reader API. We'll perform some transformation. We are going to write the data back to ADLS again. After the transformation, we'll validate whether the results are looking good or not. So this is all what we are trying to achieve in this video, right? So let's go to the next slide and see what we are going to implement practically, right? So as we have discussed, we are going to create a container with a storage that we have already created, right? So we are going to create a container. We are going to create two folders there. One is input folder, one input files, the output files, and in the input files we will be placing a customers data.csv file, which will be processing and writing to this location. So first stage we will be creating all the setup for this. We'll be creating this folder structures and all that right in the ADLS. Then we'll write some code where we can integrate this ADLS Gen2 with our Databricks. Then we'll be writing reading the data from the storage using the DataFrame Reader API. Then we'll be having a transformation. Then we'll be using DataFrame Writer API to write the data back to this output path, right? So this is what we are trying to basically do the practical. So without further delay, let's start creating practical from here. So we'll be creating a container first in the storage account, and this folder and this file will be placing. So let's see how we can do that. Then we'll go step by step to explore, right? So let's go to the Azure portal first, then we'll go to storage account that we have created already. So now I'm in the home page of this account, right? I'm just going to go to the storage which we'll be using for our storage, which we have created, right? So what we're going to do is now we are inside the storage. This is the storage, and we are just going to go to the container as we have decided. We are just going to create one container here, right? So I'm just going to take this container names so that we not any and do any mistakes, right? So let's create a container here, right? Add a container, right? Create a container. So this container is created, right? So we'll be uploading, we'll be creating two folders, right? As per the image here, right? We'll be creating two folders, input files and output files. Let's create that. Our directory. We'll copy paste the name just to avoid any typo issues. If we read this input files, we'll be adding another directory, right? Output files. Let's create the directory. Now we'll be uploading this customer file to this input files folder, right? So now let's go there, input files. We'll be uploading that file, right? Browse it. This is the file. Open, right? Upload this file and just check whether we have the file is correctly loaded or not. You see, it has customer data, few sample data that I kept it here. Okay, so it has header, it has 25 records, right? So the data is loaded correctly. So now we are done with the first step. So we are all set with the ADLS part, right? So file is ready, output folder is ready. We have created everything on this step. So now the second step would be like how we'll be creating the configuration, right? Configuration, how we'll be setting the configuration so that we can connect from this ADLS Gen2 to our Databricks, right? So we'll be focusing on that now. So that we'll be doing programmatically. So let's see how we can do that. So now, if you can see here, right? Since our ADLS part is over, right? We are just going to go to the Databricks cluster now, right? So I'm just going to open the Databricks cluster, which we have created last class, right? So let's launch the workspace. Then we'll be creating a notebook and there we'll be exploring our program, right? So we'll be creating a workspace now, right? So let's go here, users, this one, create notebook, right? Create the notebook, right? So what we're going to see now is like we are just trying to see how we can integrate this two, right, using the code, right? So here we have the code. I'll just open the code. I will try to understand this code along with the practical, right? So now, before we start on doing this, right, let me help you understand what we are trying to achieve, right? So all this codes that for integration, reader API, transformation in the writer API, I have written it already. So we'll be exploring that. So now if you see, here is the code where we will be doing the configuration. We'll be setting the configuration using this code base. Using this one, we are just going to verify whether the configuration is set properly or not. Using this one, we'll try to go to that path where we have placed the file, whether we are in the file it is reading or not, after the integration is correct or not. Basically, we are trying to check that. Then with this part of this code, we'll be doing a DataFrame Reader API. We'll be using DataFrame Reader API and see whether we are able to read the data after the integration or not. Then we'll be doing a basic filter operation, right? Then finally we'll be writing the data using the DataFrame Writer API. So now let's focus on this integration part now, right? Because that is the main thing. Without that, will not be able to read the files, right? So I'll be copying the code related to the configuration. These are the codes that is related to configuration. I'll be copying this and we'll be taking it here. Then we'll see how we'll try to understand this code, right? So now, since we have copied it, few things we need to set it before we run this code, right, and understand it, right? So now what is the storage account that we are using, right? Like we'll go back to the storage account, right? This is the storage account that we are creating, right? Let's copy this name, storage account name, that I'm keeping it here. Let's not do this way. Yeah, I have copied the storage name. Now we'll see what is the access key, right? In the storage account, if you go to that, right, for this container, let's go to this one, right? We'll be having the access key for this storage account, right? We'll go to this one, so copy this one and we'll copy paste it here. Okay. So now what is the container that we are trying to read the file from is container 3, right? Let's copy this container name, right? Container 3. The input files that we have created, you see the input directory name is this one where I have kept the file, right? This is the output folder where we'll be writing the data, right? You see, this is the output folder which is empty now. We'll be writing the data to this output files path, right? So now our this part is ready already, and now we have set everything here. Like we have taken the storage account name, we have taken the access key, containers and all, we have set it here now. So what we are trying to do programmatically here is, right, so if you see on this first 3 lines, it is just a print statement. If you are not writing this also, it is fine. It is, I have used this print statement just to have a better visibility if you are seeing any issue, to track any issues and all that, right? And to see the output in a proper way, right? I have done that. So we have set this, we have created a variable here, Python variable, where we are storing these values that we have provided just now. So this is a variable, this is also a variable, these all are Python variables where we are storing our values, using which we will be setting our configuration, right? So this piece of code is being used, this piece of code is used to set the configuration. Like we will be passing the key and value, right? Here it takes the data in the key value pair format. So here is the key, like we will be passing the storage account here, which you have done it, right? So basically Spark is as we know, right, Spark is a session object that we get in Databricks by default. We need not to create the Spark object, and this conf is an object of runtime config class, and this method is set method is used to set the configuration, right? So this is what we're trying to set the configuration here, right? So we are going to set the configuration using this code of line. Okay, so now since the configuration is set, we'll be running it. I'm not going to run it now, since before that I should explain you, right? So see, this is again the same print statement. Here we are trying to see whether the configuration that we have set it here is really properly set or not. We are just trying to verify that, right? So that is the only thing that we are trying to do it here. It is just going to return us the key, right? So here you are using F string literals instead of using like concatenation operator, right? So like directly we'll be passing the here the values here, right? So it will be considered as a string, like with the replacement of this value. Now this final value will be like it will be replaced, right? So fine. Hope you know that is a basic Python syntax, right? So now we are just going to set the, I mean, we are going to get whatever configuration that I have set. We are just going to get the key and validate whether it is fine or not. So this is what we are trying to do in this, now. And here we are just trying to display whether it is going to properly show us whether we are trying to reach this path, or it is able to read the file from this path or not. It is going to display it in a tabular format. So we are passing the container name here, storage account name, and the input directory name that we have set it here, right? So we are just passing that, right? So now that we understood the code, let's run this one and see whether it is reading the file or not. If there is any issue, it will not read that, right? So let's run it. So it will take some time. Okay, I think the cluster was up and running. That's why it has immediately started running, or else it will take some time to start the engine first, then it will run. So anyway, since it has run fine, right? So now you see whether it is connecting or not. Spark configuration has been set successfully. Then it has retrieved the key which I have set it. Like this is the key that it has set. So this is also done fine. Now it has gone to this path, like it went to this container, then this is the storage account, and it went to this path to get this file, and we are reading the file properly, right? So basically, whatever I try to do, it is working fine now. Like the configuration part is done. We understood the configuration part, and this configuration part is done, right? So now we are able to communicate between this ADLS Gen2 the Databricks, right? So that we can see it clearly from here. So now, so once we are done with that part, right, what is the next thing that we wanted to achieve is like we are just trying to read the file now, which is placed here, right? Let's use the DataFrame Reader API and read the file, right? So now I'll be adding another code here, and we'll just go back to this file and copy paste the DataFrame Reader API code, right? Okay, and we'll see whether it is reading the file that we wanted, right? So now, if you see in this one, right? Anyway, this is a print statement. No need to worry on this one. So we are just trying to set the file path. Okay, from where we will be picking the file, right? This is a file path, and this is what we have set it here, right? We are just passing the container name, input directory name, which you have set, which variable you have created in top, right? If you see input directory name that we have created here, right? So that only we are going to use to get this database to reach to this path, right? So we are going to go to this path, and we are going to pick this file. So this is the input file path now. We are just going to print the input file path just to see whether it is correctly reading or not. Now comes the main part here. Okay, we are trying to create a data frame here. So what is a data frame first of all, right? So it is not a normal variable, right? If you see, we have created this all Python variables, but now if you when you see, so what it does is like whenever you create a variable, it points to a specific location to in the memory, right? But when you create a data frame, right, using the reader API, so it reads the data from this file. Let's see this data, right? It reads the data from this file and create a tabular view of that file, right? So what is a read here, right? Spark read is not a method. If you see here, I mentioned it as a note, like it is not a method. It is a property of the Spark session object that returns a data frame. So that's what I'm trying to see here, right? So it is returning a data frame, right? So what is data frame again? So whatever data it reads from this file, right, it is going to store it in a tabular format, which is going to be distributed in the cluster. It is not going to store at one. Like this is a simple small file. That's why it is uh, uh, not going to split in different partitions. But the nature of this data frame is like it is going to be distributed across the cluster, right? So now let's try to understand what is this one, right? So using reader API, we're just going to read the data from this file, and this is the file format. Like if you see, this file format is CSV, right? So we need to mention that, otherwise it will not able to find, okay, which format of the file that we are trying to read, right? So now, so we are going to keep the option header as true, right? If you see, this file has a header, that's why you are passing this option so that it will read the header as well. So now infer schema true, right? What does this mean? So it is going to infer the schema by Spark engine itself. So we are not explicitly defining the schema. So whenever we want to let the Spark engine know that, okay, you define a schema on based on the data type that we have, data that we are passing, right? It is going to infer the schema automatically. For that, we have written this one, and load. We are going to load the file from that path, this path, right? So using this data from reader API, we are just going to read that file, where it will be having the file format as CSV, header as true, and infer schema anyway. It is inferring internally, like we are not explicitly defining the schema, and we are trying to finally show that the show method is going to show whatever they are in that data frame, right? You see, so now we are just trying to print the schema of this data frame, right? Whatever schema it is inferring internally, that we are just trying to print it and see, okay, how it is going to work, right? So now now that we understood the code, right, I'm just going to run this one and see whether it is reading the file or not, right? You see, it has started reading the file. Okay, yeah, you see, it has read the file, right? and here is the schema. So if you see here, what it has done is, right, let's go here. So it went to this file path, created a data frame, which you can see in a tabular format, right? And it has inferred the schema, and the schema that it has inferred, we are trying to print it. So customer ID is an integer type data. If you see in this table, right, it's an integer type. So by default, it has taken integer. Customer name is a string, city is a string, order ID is string, and if you see order date here is a date type, right? Order date is a date data type. So internally, it has inferred the schema to date type, right? So product is string, category is string, amount is integer. If you see amount, right, it is integer. That's why it has inferred as integer, right? So now order status is string, and this one is also string. So now we have seen, like, you must be wondering, like, if why we are seeing only, we have 25 record in the table, but we are seeing only 20 records. It shows by default, the source method shows, right, 20 records by default, right? We have 25 records in this file, but it shows 20 records at a time. But if you wanted to see 10 record also, we can just change this one. Maybe we'll just do this one. This. If you want to see only 10 record, we can just use this one to see. I'm just going to run it, will just show only 10 records, right? So what maximum it, I mean, by default, it should show 10 records, right? You see, it is showing 10 records on now. So let's go back to the original one. So now we have seen it. Okay, it has created a data frame, right? And it has inferred the schema automatically. So we're good on this part now. So if you go back to this image, we are done with this part. So you have read the file which you have uploaded to this path with the integration of ADLS to Spark. We are able to read this file. So now we will be applying a transformation on top of the data frame that we have read, right? So let's go to this code, right? I'm just going to copy this. Okay. So if you see here, what it does is, right, we are importing the PySpark functions and column. It is a method which is not given by Python. So it is a method from PySpark libraries. So that just in order to use this column function, we have imported it from PySpark, right? So this is what we are trying to import it here. Without this import statement, it's not going to work. So again, this is a simple print statement, and whatever data frame that we have created here, what count data frame, right? On top of that data frame, we are trying to apply a filter condition where we will be saying that, okay, filter based on order status, where order status is equal to closed, right? So this is the syntax that we need to follow. So you're just trying to filter the data where order status is called like closed, right? So if you see here, there are how many records? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 records with order status is closed, right? So now we are trying to filter those records, right? And just trying to show them, right? So I'm running the code, and we are just going to see that. You see, it has filtered the record based on the closed status, right? So you see, it has again read 6 records, right? Whatever records from here, right? We have tried to apply a filter, and we are reading only those 6 records where order status is closed, right? So now we have done with this part, right? We have applied this filter condition, right? So this transformation we have applied it now. So now the final thing that is pending with us is, like, we will see how we can write the data, right? So now let's go back to this code. Let's go to the code. Let's copy the code for DataFrame Writer API, and then we'll see. We'll try to understand and run it, right? So now I'm just going to add one more. So now here, as usual, it is a print statement. So here we are configuring the path. You see, we are trying to just reach this path now. If you see, we are just trying to go to this path, right? Output files. Here nothing is there. We are just trying to reach this path. For that reason, we are creating a variable where we'll be assigning this path, right? So we'll be trying to reach that connection container name, and we have storage account and our output file name, right? Output directory name, which you have set it here, right? So in the beginning, you see output directory name. Fine. So now here we're trying to set the file path where we're trying to write, and here we're trying to just print this path where we're trying to see, just for confirmation we're writing to the right path, right? So now this is a code snippet for DataFrame Writer API. Again, this write is not a method. It is a property of DataFrame object that returns DataFrame Writer object, right? The DataFrame Writer object provides methods such as CSV, JSON, Parquet, all that, save table, mode, partition, and all that, right? So whenever we are using this writer API, right, we can explore all these options, but for now we are just trying to write that. We are not going to explore all this. So we are just trying to simply write the data in the format of CSV, and the write mode would be like here, it will be overwritten. Like since there is no file existing already, right, it is going to create a new file. If it is already there, that file is already there, it is going to overwrite that file. That is the main functionality of this mode option, is overwrite, right? So it has different options as well, right? Overwrite, error if exist, and all that, right? So we are not going to explore that now. So option header as true, right? So here we are trying to tell that, okay, let's include the header while writing the data, right? So we'll be seeing, while writing the data, we'll be having header in the file, right? So, and we are just going to save the file, right? We are going to write the file with this output path which we have configured. So now if I'm going to write this, run this code, right? If you see, we do not have any file here. Now I'm just going to run this code, right? Let's see, run this code. If there is no issue, it should write it properly. So you see, it has given this message. So yeah, it has written this data to this path, right? So it has written properly. So now let's see whether we can see that file. So either you refresh it, okay, yeah. So now just go to this output files path. You should see those files being written now, right? So here we are seeing multiple files, but we try to read only one file, right? So these are all metadata files which is managed by Spark. We need not to worry about that. So generally what Spark does is, whenever it started writing any file, right, it creates this file, something like, okay, this process is started. When everything is it is completed with the writing, right, it generates this file. Okay, it is committed, right? So while started, this file gets generated when it is completed, this is done, and this is a final file where Spark confirms that, okay, everything is written successfully, right? So these three files are metadata files. We need not to worry about that. That is internal of Spark. But now our main intention is we should see that, right? So if you see, this is a file that we have written, and it should have this file with this data that we intended, right? So it should have the file with the closed status, right? If you see, all those records that we see here is like closed status, right? 6 record we have it here, one header and 6 record, right? As if you remember, we have seen it here, right? After filtering, we are having 6 records which is being written, right? We are trying to write this data frame, right? So filter data frame only we are writing, right? If you see filter data frame, so that's it. We are seeing only 6 records there. So with that, right, we have seen like how we can write the data to this ADLS location using DataFrame Writer API. So with this one, right, we are done with all the steps. We have created all these containers and folders, placed a file. We have configured the connection settings. Then we have used this Reader API to read the data, then transformation, used Writer API to write the data, and we have seen like everything is working as expected, right? So now, so here what we have done is, right, we have like, see, first step we have, just to have a quick recap, right, we have done the configuration part first, and we have checked it, okay, configuration is working fine or not, and we have checked, okay, file we are able to read it from ADLS, right? Then we have done the write operation, read operation, right, from that path, and we have confirmed, okay, that we are able to read the file and infer the schema correctly, right? That we have seen. Then we have done a simple filter operation, and we have verified, okay, filter is applying correctly, and we have verified the data. And the filtered data only, finally we are going to write it, right? So this is the code that we have explored, and we have written the data successfully, and we have validated the data here, right? So with that, we are done with all the processes that we wanted to do it here. So I have given few more files, more images here, where you can have a look to go through each and go through each part and understand, okay, what is FS, what is Azure, like whenever we are creating this one, right? So if you see, whenever we are writing this one, right? So you see, yeah, we have FS, Azure, account, key, just to understand what are all these parts, right? Here I have created an image. Here you can get all the detail. This is for file system. This tells that okay, it is from Azure. This is a storage account. This indicates it's a authentication method. It's key here, and this is the storage account name that I have given. This is a uh, DFS is the distributed file system endpoint, and this is the core part of Azure Storage Service domain. This is a part of Microsoft domain, and this is your net, right? So you try to understand this all class and objects in a real-time analogy so that you'll be able to relate it how it is working. For that reason, I have given it here. You just try to go through it. What is the Spark session? It is a blueprint of a office building, let's say, if you're trying to build, right? So what is a Spark session object? Let's say, unless until the object is created for your Spark session, consider your blueprint. This is the blueprint, but your home office is not ready, right? Once you create the session, it is ready for use, right? Then using the runtime config object, right? From the class runtime config, we are trying to set the, consider this as a office settings manager, and we have set it, right? We have seen it practically how we have set it. And we have set it using set method, using get method. We have verified, okay, everything is fine or not. You can go through this document, and this also you can go through, like, okay, whatever we have seen it here, right? Display is a function, and dbutils is a, right? It's a database utility, a toolbox provided by Databricks, right? You can consider that as a toolbox provided by Databricks. And FS is a file system that we are trying to explore, and LS is the path where we are trying to check the path. So you can go through this document as well in detail if you wanted to. And this also gives you a clear understanding of what we have used in the program. So now we are all done with this one. So if you see, we have done it practically. So one last thing that I wanted to show is, like, so we have taken this code and run it in phases. But if you see, right, I just wanted to run at one go, right? Create notebook. I just wanted to run that at one go, right? I'll just copy this code. If there is no issue in the code, it should ideally run at one go. This way also we can run it. Just for your understanding purpose only, I have taken separate script and executed, but now I have kept everything at one place, and I am going to run it at one go, right? Right. So let me run this one. Before that, let's delete this one. It will create confusion otherwise. So let me delete all this. We'll see whether it is creating all these files again or not, right? So now this output files is empty. So we're going to run this full code snippet, right? So now I'm just going to run it, and we'll see. You see, it is executing. You see, it is showing us the, it has created the data frame, it has input the schema, it has filtered the data, and finally it has written. So now let's verify it is, it has written or not. For that, we need to just refresh this page, right? You see, it is again written. So with this one, I hope you understood, like, what we have done. And we have successfully integrated the Databricks with ADLS, and we have created uh, a DataFrame Reader API, done some filter, and written data back to ADLS using DataFrame Writer API, right? So hope you all got it. Thank you. We'll see you in the next video.